Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome again to another edition of the Beauty in Us Radio right here on Awesome God Radio. I'm very happy that you all have had the opportunity to visit and to stop by to the Beauty in Us Radio once again to hear another conversation about a lot of things that matter from the eyes of a young Black male like myself. So I'm glad you guys had the opportunity to tune into another edition of my show. I have a very special show this evening that I want to present to you guys. Mr. Tommy Durrell from Young Men Strong is going to be joining us for the second half of the show from 6:30 to 7 p.m. and from his time from 5:30 to 6 p.m. The time zones are different because he lives in a different state. But in about 30 minutes or so, he's going to hop on and talk to us about how important it is to have a male mentor and the impact of Young Men Strong. Now, he is still kind of new to the organization, and so am I. I just became, just in case you haven't seen some of my posts lately on Instagram and some of the other platforms, I've recently joined the organization Young Men Strong, LLC. Shout out to Miss Nija Howard for reaching out to me and for bringing me on. I've had the opportunity to sit in many of the roundtable discussions virtually and to talk about different things that involve different aspects of life from the perspective of young men like myself. And I'm glad that I have the opportunity to have mentors, and one of which is Mr. Tommy Durrell, who's going to be joining us. So he's going to have the opportunity to give us a little bit more information about himself, and also about his role in Young Men Strong. Even though he's new, it's still going to be an amazing opportunity for all of you guys to see what Young Men Strong is about and to understand the impact that the organization has on many young men and many people throughout the community. Now, even though she's based in New York, the network is worldwide. So she has people from all over who are members of this organization and who provide great leadership, and they provide great mentorship to a lot of young men like myself and others. So he's going to talk to us about his experience working with Young Men Strong and his experience in being a mentor and being a leader, and how that's had an impact on his life as well. So for the entire duration of the show, from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern time, for you all who tune in every week, we're going to be talking about the importance of male mentorship and male leadership. Now, I've had a conversation about this on my show before, and it's definitely given me an opportunity to voice my opinion on things that matter. Hello, good evening, Miss Breezy. Thanks again for tuning in. Miss Easy Breezy Brianna, I want to thank you for tuning in every single show. She tunes in for almost every single broadcast, her and Miss Lillian Harshaw. So I want to give a huge shout out to them for supporting me 100% with every single broadcast and with everything that I venture into. They always support me 100%, and they make it their business to meet me here every week, each week. So I want to thank you all. But again, as I was saying, we're going to have a conversation about the importance of male mentorship. Now, we've talked about that in the past. I've had guests on in the past. Earlier this year, in case you all don't remember, I had a guest, Mr. Jordan Davis. He was a former classmate of mine back in elementary school and middle school, and we had a conversation about male mentorship, but we had a conversation about another aspect of that, which was about toxic masculinity. And that was a discussion that we had earlier this year about the ways in which men interact with one another and how they carry themselves in the world. So we had a conversation about that aspect. Mr. Di Manuel this past summer, I've had an opportunity to speak to him all the way from Vancouver. And he sat down with me in a virtual interview and talked about his experience in terms of how that has affected his lifestyle and what made him become a personal trainer and lifestyle expert. So I've had a couple of men on here and a couple of guests who have had the opportunity to talk about male mentorship, leadership, and what it looks like to have a healthy dose of self-esteem, what it looks like when a male is vulnerable, but they aren't emasculated in a way. So we're going to have a conversation about that. So just in case you all don't know what Young Men Strong is, I encourage you all to definitely take some time out and head to youngmenstrong.com so that you can visit the website and learn a lot more about the organization itself and what we do. So the Young Men Strong is all about uplifting young men of color. It's all about providing young men of color and fathers and single moms with resources, with tools, with different opportunities to grow and learn, and not just from a professional standpoint, but also for, yes, absolutely, Ms. Breezy, yes, absolutely. Also, not just from a professional standpoint, but from an emotional standpoint. You know, it provides everybody with resources. Everyone who's involved, everyone who becomes a member, we all have access to the resources, not just the activities, but also the people who specialize in different fields and who want to help us get to where we need to be in certain aspects of our lives. So that's what the organization is about. So I encourage you all to head on over to youngmenstrong.com so that you can learn more about the organization and more about Ms. Howard herself and how she got started. Now, you know, we've had the conversation before. I've talked about it on other shows. I've talked about it, you know, with some of my colleagues. I've discussed it on my show here on the Beauty and Us Radio. But I think that I have to discuss it again because it's such an important, it's so imperative to talk about this. But I think that it's important to note that Miss Nija Howard, who's appeared on my show twice this year, she started this organization because she realized how, well, she saw the need for a platform, an organization that was designed to help young men of color realize how special they are, the beauty inside of them. As a single mom, she understood the need to have, you know, her son, you know, to have her son involved in an organization where, you know, he can learn from other men who have been where he's been. He can confide and he can entrust in to the fullest extent. She understands completely what it's like to be a single mom raising a son. So when I spoke to her about joining Young Men Strong and even about her organization when she first appeared on my show earlier this spring, I was actually a little bit apprehensive about it at first because I haven't had a good experience with men or male role models in the past. I've been hurt in the past, and I've felt mistreated in the past by men I've trusted and that I've confided in, and it definitely made me, you know, apprehensive about joining any other type of group where there were just men involved and where I would just have to have a roundtable discussion with them and just be as vulnerable as possible about how I felt. I didn't really feel as though that was valued before. I didn't really feel as though it mattered or that I mattered to them. So that's why I had a tendency to shy away from that. And I know that in the long run, it's something that I need in terms of having a balance. But I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to join an organization virtually like Young Men Strong LLC, because I've had the opportunity to meet other men already. And I've only been a part of it for a couple months now. I've met men who understand my story, who identify with my story, who were raised by single moms and who understand how I feel. I don't feel judged. I don't feel criticized for loving my mom the way I do and walking the path that I'm walking. Because oftentimes in other circles, I didn't really get a chance to witness how vulnerable men can really be in front of other men. I didn't really have an opportunity to see that because everyone wanted to present themselves as being very tough and very kind of cold in a way. So joining this organization, I think, has been one of the biggest accomplishments I've made this year. So I encourage you all to, again, sit back and enjoy the interview with Mr. Tommy Durrell and I. I have a list of questions to ask him and that I've already sent him. But again, you know, I think that when we talk about mentorship and when we talk about what it means to be a leader, I think it's important for us to realize what the qualities of a leader are and what traits leaders should demonstrate when they think about having mentees or if they think about the people that they are bringing up, so to speak. So I think that you all should listen to a little bit about what a mentor is and what they do. So after doing some research, I was able to pull some stats, and I was able to gather some things from different sources, some information from different sources about mentorship and what that looks like. So mentorship in and of itself is the influence, guidance, or direction given by a mentor. So that's the definition of mentorship. But sources also say that in an organizational setting, a mentor influences the personal and professional growth of a mentee. So that means that when you have a mentor, you are in the position where you use your influence to help that mentee, whoever he or she may be, in general, whoever they may be. You have influence, you have the authority. Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it authority, but you are in the position where you can give them guidance or direction in different aspects of their lives. Now, oftentimes, people don't really understand or realize how influential they can be, and that could be for the good or for the bad. But in this case, when we talk about mentorship, we have to think about it from a broad perspective, not just in the workplace or in a professional setting, but also from a personal standpoint, and even when you talk about someone's home life, or if you talk about someone's circumstances, or if you learn about that. Most traditional mentorships involve having senior employees. And again, this is spoken from a professional standpoint. Most traditional mentorships involve having senior employees mentor more junior employees, but mentors do not necessarily have to be more senior than the people they mentor. What matters is that mentors have experience that others can learn from. So interaction with an expert may also be necessary to gain proficiency with cultural tools. Mentorship experience and relationship structure affect the amount of psychosocial support, career guidance, role modeling, and communication that occurs in the mentoring relationships in which the proteges and mentors engaged. So mentoring is a process for the informal transmission of knowledge, social capital, and the psychosocial support perceived by the recipient as relevant to work, career, or professional development. Mentoring entails informal communication, usually face-to-face and during a sustained period of time, between a person who is perceived to have greater relevant knowledge, wisdom, or experience, the mentor, and a person who is perceived to have less, which is the protege in this case. So again, when we talk about mentorship and we talk about being a mentor, we have to understand that being a mentor, we have to look at that from a broad approach. It's not just, one thing or another. It's not just black and white. There are a lot of gray areas, because you could be a mentor in someone's life, but you don't just have an impact on them professionally, you have an impact on them personally. And I think that oftentimes, again, people don't really understand how influential they are and how much authority they have over someone else's life when they say things to them, or when they do things that they may or may not think about. So someone's actions, someone's words, they speak volume to the person that they are bringing up, so to speak. So I think that when we talk about mentorship, we have to understand that and keep that in mind. Whether you're acting as a role model, whether you are providing someone with emotional support, whether you're providing someone with career guidance, it's important for us to realize that being a mentor it has nothing to do with you having titles. It's all about what's in your heart to give someone else. People should have the opportunity to see your passion for what it is. People should have an opportunity to see your transparency, your openness, and how unique you are. Now, people should be open to corrective or constructive, I should say, criticism, so that they can learn how to get better and so that they can take baby steps as it pertains to getting to where they want to be and as it pertains to following their destiny. Now, oftentimes, being a part of this organization, I never have to hear this ever again from any man. So that's good, because I heard this for a long time. I've heard for a long time that, from a cultural standpoint, and what society thinks about single moms who raise sons, You know, it's a lot oftentimes, you know, I feel like, especially as a young, you know, quote unquote African American male, I definitely feel as though single moms who are raising sons, especially Black mothers who are raising Black sons, or any woman of color who's raising a son, a young man of color, a boy who identifies as a person of color, I think that oftentimes they don't receive enough support and enough guidance from the community, from their communities, not just locally, but throughout the nation. I think that a lot of moms, and there are single dads too, I'm not going to stereotype anybody, but there are, in this case, we're talking about single moms who raise sons, especially moms of color who raise boys of color into men of color. I think that oftentimes there aren't really a lot of resources for all of the single moms and even the single dads who are raising their children by themselves. But instead of providing those resources, and instead of the community banding together to provide the single parents, the single mom, the single dad who may be raising sons, like in this case, as we talk about Young Men Strong, we're talking about sons. So that could mean that we're talking about boy moms, girl dads, boy dads, you name it. You know, they don't receive enough resources to help sustain them throughout this journey. I think that it's important for us to realize how stigmatized single parents are, especially single moms who are raising sons. Oftentimes, the world believes that single moms aren't really giving their sons what they need. I mean, this has been brought to my attention on several occasions, especially as a young adult. Now that I'm out in the real world and now that I'm working, I'm building my career, I'm finishing school, and I have so many amazing I'm going through so many amazing transitions in my life, and I'm moving ahead and putting one foot in front of the other in order to get things accomplished, not just for me, but for my future. Like I shared with you all before, you know, I plan on adopting children, you know, in the future. So, you know, having a circle of people who understand my desire to do that after, you know, so many years of missing out on, you know, my dad not being as active in my life as I would have liked for him to be. And after feeling fatherless for so long, I was able to heal that and forgive him for what he was not able to give me in terms of being that father that God called him to be. As you all may know, you know, my father passed away on January 23rd earlier this year. So ever since then, I've been thinking about this whole adoption journey, starting this whole journey when I'm in my later 20s, between like, I'll say 27 and 28. I've been thinking about that ever since the day my dad passed away. And I've been thinking about the ways in which I can give back and give to another generation of children what I wasn't given, which was a father in the home to the fullest extent. And I think that, again, these resources that Young Men Strong have provided me and that are still providing me and that provide many of its members, I think that these resources are essential to the well-being of not just the parents, not just the dads, the single dads or the single moms who are raising sons, but also to the sons who are being brought up in this world. You know, I'm a 1999 baby, as you guys, just in case you guys don't know, I'm a 1999 baby, and the world was so much different in the late 90s. I came up in the early 2000s era where, you know, things are totally different from how they are now. There are children out here that are exposed to so much negativity, but we need to reel them back in and provide them with more positivity. You know, we need to see more young men of color in particular, as we talk about, you know, that subject tonight. We need to see more young men of color who are on platforms like Awesome God Radio and who are on platforms where they can give them a message and be that inspiration and be that role model for generations, future generations of children who haven't been born yet, and for children who are being brought up in this world that is so filled with calamity and is so filled with chaos and corruption. I think that, again, because of the fact that kids are so exposed to so much negativity, not just throughout the media, but even with social media and what they see in this world, I think that we have the responsibility of providing them with every ounce of who we are. You know, no matter how big or small, it's our responsibility as adults to be that role model and representation and give them, all of us, because kids can see our passion, they can see our compassion, they can see our courage, they can see our boldness, they can see our honesty. They are able to read that when they meet us. They're able to read that, when we speak to them about, about them, and having a genuine concern about them and their well-being, bringing them up, having that village is very imperative. And it's not just about the parents, but it's also about the people within the village. I think that we also need to bring that village mentality back when we talk about mentorship and when we talk about leadership, because the leadership doesn't always have to come from the mom or the dad. You could have leaders who are aunts, uncles, cousins, male or female. Everybody has mentors or should have a mentor. So the mentorship doesn't always have to come from your parents. It could come from your extended family members. It could come from your friends. It could come from your colleagues. So there are so many ways where you can acquire a great mentor, an authentic leader, someone who's powerful internally, and someone who has a heart, and someone who is generous, someone who's compassionate, someone who's willing to uplift you in your time of need, and who is not going to be selfish about spending their quality time getting to know you and getting to help you along your journey. So I think that that's important for us to understand as well. In the Bible, it says that Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17 says that iron sharpens iron and one man sharpens another. So we all have to work together on this journey, because we all don't understand everything. We all don't know everything. So it's our responsibility to reach out to each other, ask each other, because we all need each other, and we can't survive this world on our own. Oftentimes people showcase pride and think that they can do things on their own, and they think that they can acquire resources and fight battles by themselves, but they fail to realize that they need praying partners and that they need a community of people. Even if it's a small group or maybe even one person or two, they need people in their corner to pray with them and to give them that guidance and direction, because we can't fight battles on our own. We lean on God for them. God also sends people our way to help us along the way. So when we talk about that verse, we have to think about how much we really need each other, even though we say we don't. In reality, we do. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6 says, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. So we have to instill lifelong lessons in our young men in this case. Again, we're talking about, just in case you're tuning in for the first time, or if you're just hopping on, we're talking about mentorship and leadership and what that looks like from the male's perspective. So I'm waiting for Mr. Tommy to hop on to StreamYard so that we can start our interview in the next 5 or 7 minutes or so. But again, when we talk about this, we have to remember that we need each other. We need that village. So that Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6 it says, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. So we have to instill values in our children that they will never leave behind. We are giving them a bag to pack for life. It's our responsibility as adults to provide them with the tools and resources they need so that they can be successful young adults, and so that they don't have to go through unnecessary struggles, and so that they won't have to witness what we may have witnessed while we were growing up. Each generation is supposed to uplift one another. Each generation has a responsibility to do better than the next one. So it's up to us as adults. We have a responsibility to the children, and particularly as we talk about Young Men Strong, fathers have a responsibility to sons. Fathers have a responsibility to daughters. Moms who are raising their sons have a responsibility to, we all have, I'll say, a responsibility to provide children with the best of who we are, because it's our job to work from the inside out in order to inspire and uplift people who are in need, and in this case, inspire and uplift children and young men and boys in particular who are watching us and who are learning from our behaviors and who witness our actions. They could be good, they could be bad, or indifferent. Our young men are watching us, our boys are watching us. It's our job to let them know how powerful they are. And our children also need someone to hold them accountable for what they do. So we all have to understand how valuable this conversation is, because we are living in a world where people, have just gotten accustomed to the, okay, you can do whatever you want mentality, or people have gotten accustomed to the, what goes on just goes on mentality. People have gotten accustomed to, I'm just going to just go along just to get along. But no, having that strong foundation and providing, in this case, little boys and young men with a strong foundation to stand on, with the best of who you are, providing them with that foundation to stand on, makes room for them to grow and to prosper. Because we can't expect from our little boys or from our young men what we failed to give, because we're being that model, we're being that representation. So we can't expect more of our boys and from our young men. We can't expect more from them that we're not willing to give. We can't expect more from them that we are not willing to sacrifice, because we have to put in the work in order to make this work. It's up to us. It's up to us to learn how to cultivate that. And it's up to us to learn how to make that sacrifice so that our boys and that our young men don't have to witness or go through any unnecessary struggles. Men's feelings matter, and men of color matter. These are the hashtags that I put in the ticker. Men of color matter and men's feelings matter. So we have to really motivate our boys and our young men and encourage them to look inside and to dig deep and to figure out who they are, and help them build up their confidence so that they can walk around with their head up and with a smile on their face, because there are so many boys and there are so many young men who are walking around not realizing how powerful they are. A lot of our boys and a lot of our young men, they don't really understand how powerful they are, but they also don't understand what their dreams and aspirations are. They don't realize how much of a difference that they can make in the world. They don't realize how many abilities they really have and what God has really blessed them with, and the gifts that they can use in order to be a blessing to someone else. So I think it's important for us to understand that too, because, we live our lives just not really thinking about how much of an impact we can really make on this world and how much of a legacy we can leave on this world when we are gone, and when we leave, when the next generation of children comes up behind us. So that's what we have to understand. So since he is here, I'm going to let him in to the discussion. So he's a couple minutes early, but I'm just going to add him to the stream. Okay, so welcome, Mr. Tommy Durrell, to the Beauty and Us Radio right here on Awesome Guy Radio. Thanks again for taking time out to appear on my show. You're the first guest from Young Men Strong. Well, actually the second. Miss Howard's actually the first, but you're the second. Well, you're the first mentor, I'll say, who has been a part of my show. So I'm glad you had the opportunity to hop on. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I introduced you a little bit earlier on in the show, but I'm going to let you have the floor and talk a little bit about yourself and your role in Young Men Strong. I know that you're still new, to the organization, and you're still trying to find your way yourself. But could you tell the audience a little bit more about you? I know that you're from Louisiana, but you live in Texas, so you're a country guy. So
absolutely.
Yes. So you're a country guy. I don't know anything about the South. I mean, I listen to country music, but I don't know anything about the South. I'm a county guy. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so country boy living, You know what I'm saying? You got people next door that has horses and chickens and pigs and wild, everything, rabbits, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Coming out of Louisiana, it brings back so many memories. You know what I'm saying? This type of conversation, the food. I'm sure that you heard of the food. The food is absolutely amazing. But on the backside, that type of eating is not something that I would approve for an individual to do for their whole life, which is, you know what I'm saying, that's our thing. We love the culture, you know what I'm saying, that Creole living, having that particular type of accent, which I'm sure that y'all can hear that I still have, although I've been here in the Dallas, Texas area for about 15 years now. So people meet me and they're like, um, obviously you just moved from Louisiana. And I'm like, nah, it's been about 15 years. And they're like, how you never lost your accent? Well, I believe that would be something for children to actually do within this particular season or within these last few years because a child adapts to, you know what I'm saying, the conversation that everybody else is doing within that particular classroom. But nah, I didn't leave Louisiana until 2005, which is when I graduated from Grambling State University. But so what was the second question again?
So the first question was, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? The second question, that was the first question. The second question is, what kind of work do you do with YMS? So I know that I know that you're still new and you're still trying to navigate through YMS yourself, but could you tell us a little bit about what you do with YMS and what you kind of what do you anticipate? What is your
Okay,
vision? I'll
when it
say
comes towards YMS,
yes.
uh, being a mentor, being able to pour value in other men as well as other young boys who, you know, they're in a single parent, you know, single mom situation. I do believe that eventually there's going to be some single dads with sons that's going to also join us within this particular movement. The fun thing about it is just being able to be there for someone else. Because, you know, some of us all had, you know, the single parent household, you know, the father wasn't involved, but at the same time, sometimes strategically, that is set in or set up for a particular situation. You know what I'm saying? You just never know what's really um let's say it like this. You never know what's really going on with your parents because you're only at a certain particular age when everything is really going on. But as time passes and you get older, you always go back to try to find out who was doing what or who was saying what that was very strategic on behalf of why you didn't know certain things. As just like, for instance, with me, um, I remember it was a week before I graduated high school. My mom died, and my father gave me away on that same particular day. Now, at that age, I was 17, a week before I made 18 as well. And at that point, being the only child, you know what I'm saying, I was out of parents already at that particular point in time. But that didn't stop me from, you know what I'm saying, doing everything that I'm doing in the current day, you know, college graduate. I played, you know, football back in the day or whatever the situation was, won two black national championships. That's cool. But it's all about focusing on those particular cards that you were dealt as an adolescent to the point to where you don't allow those situations to keep you from the actual gift that God has put inside of you. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of individuals who are currently basically just having these preterm pregnancies. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things that God has put in that they choose not to act upon, and they're just losing time. What's so crazy? I was just on a Zoom right before this, and it was one of my clients talking about she just wished that she had 8 more hours in the day. And I'm saying 8 more hours, so we got 24 and you need another 8. So you trying to get to what, 31? You need 31 hours in a day. That's when it's a strategic situation where time management is not being done. You got to be very intentional with everything that you're doing, especially within this season.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, it's really important. And I mean, this organization, like I said, like during the first half of the show, I think the beautiful part about this organization is that, again, like for me personally, I can only speak for myself that, it's a no judgment zone, and that all of these men, a lot of them come from the same boat in terms of what their circumstances were like growing up. So I don't have to worry about any men like I had in the past saying, well, you're just a mama's boy. You need to grow up. You need to do this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't have to worry about men saying that because, you all understand, because I don't have to constantly prove myself, in this circle. And I don't have to constantly explain or give someone an explanation in terms of why I love my mom the way I do, why I'm on the path that I'm on. I don't have to explain any of that because everybody, is focused. This is a community, and I feel the community now because I didn't feel that from men that I trusted in the past who betrayed that trust and who didn't have my best interests and exposed themselves for who they really were when I really needed them. So I think that that's something that definitely, it stands out for me, at least. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but that's just me personally. And I wanted to. Yes, the third question I wanted to ask you is, how is YMS, how has Young Men Strong impacted your life? Now, like, I know that you're a boy dad, so so how has that impacted your life? Because I know that you're a mentor here, but I know that, you're still learning. Even though you're a mentor, you're still learning yourself, and you can take these same lessons and then you can apply them to your personal life. So how has YMS impacted your life, your personal life, and how have you been able to implement these same strategies and things that you've learned, and that you're still learning, to your personal life?
See, the thing with YMS, everything that's going on with it is everything that I was already doing within my personal life. Uh, it falls back on behalf of that gift. You know what I'm saying? Certain times in life, we have a gift and people are attracted to that gift, but we don't know what to do with it. So when YMS came around, when I seen how it's a safe space for all men or all boys to come and share information, just like you said, not be judged, be able to, what I'm saying, tell those deep and dark secrets to each other without being judged on behalf of, oh, well, nah, you weak or we no, it's nothing like that. It's basically getting everybody's, what I'm saying, understanding and move forward and be encouraged. Everything with me, that's just like when it comes to a social media. I like to treat my social media platforms like gardens. You plant, you cultivate, and then you harvest. Same thing with a man or a boy. You know what I'm saying? When a boy is in transition, there's always a transition from, adolescence to, what I'm saying, to manhood. I know that's a big gap, but at the same time, um, the thing that I love to talk about the most is it's a chance that once a boy or a man, as he considers himself as a man at the age of 21, it's a chance that he can fall into what I consider as default mode. Now, when a person makes 21, of course, um, they can, go to the casino, they can go to clubs, they can buy liquor, whatever the situation is, whatever that particular individual is into. Once they get to that particular age, just like for instance, there's a multitude of 21 years old going into 22 that's graduating from college, and although they, go through that particular aspect of time in life, it's a chance that they stay in that same default mode until they're 30 or 35 before they actually wake up and like, man, I haven't read a book since. Sometimes people ain't read a book since they was in high school, graduated high school. Sometimes people haven't read a book since they graduated college. So strategically, that individual stop that learning process and start to stop that growing process to the point to where, a lot of women still say, women mature faster than men. And strategically, that may be a chance because men are taught to, to provide. You know what I'm saying? So that's all we've been talking. Hey, provide, provide, provide. For the woman, little girl, she playing with dolls and, they showing her how to nurture her, how to care for her, and this and that. When all in all, we can't even cry. They didn't teach men to or young boys to cry. You weak if you cry. When all in all, but then again, when YMS hit the scene, we can cry together, we can laugh together, we can grow together, and we can all win together. That's what I love about it. I love every aspect of it because it's going to be something very special and very beneficial long term rather than just for the right now.
Yes, absolutely. And the next question, it's a fire question. And, the next question has several dimensions to it. But this fourth question that I have is, how do you interpret the distinction between boyhood and manhood? Now, that's a deep question that has many layers and many dimensions. But the difference between boyhood and manhood, having that distinction between the two, I think it's very challenging, especially for young men. There are a lot of young men in my peer group, I just sometimes I sit back and I look at Instagram and I'm just looking and I'm like, a lot of them, they wait until, okay, they're 21. Okay, they're having their first beer. They're at the club, they're dancing, they're doing all this stuff. And I'm like, there's so much more to look forward to than just drinking. It's like, okay, there's other, you're an adult, but, they feel like they're missing something if they don't engage in any of these destructive activities like everybody else is. So I think that a lot of boys and young men have a very hard time understanding the different phases in their lives, like you talk about, even like with childhood. If a boy is 5 years old, that's the time where he's really just exploring the outside world, and that's when he's really starting to dream, and he has his imaginations. He's playing with action figures, he's making friends, he's building lifelong relationships that way. And then fast forward to 10 years old, he gets to the double digits. He's about to go to middle school. He's definitely, he's on track to wanting more independence and wanting, a lot of 10-year-olds, they want their first cell phone, so they want more independence. Then fast forward, to like 16, you're dating, and then girls start to become cool, so, and then you're wearing your first, suit. You buy your first suit for prom, and then fast forward to 18, that's when you can vote. You can definitely be that independent guy that you always wanted to be. And then fast forward to 21, like you've pretty much, you are who you're going to be, unless you decide to change. Nobody can reel you back in at that point. So there are different phases that I think that a lot of young men have a hard time figuring out. So what is your interpretation of that?
Okay, so if we talk about my boyhood, this was back in the 80s. So right. It would be totally different from the boyhood that's currently taking place. You can really say, you don't even really have to say currently, because what year was it that AOL came out? That came out in like 95, 96.
Yes.
Okay, so that's when the internet started coming around in 95, 96, to the point to where it's to the point now in this day and era, because my son is 10. So in the past 10 years, as a boy, there's children that's out there that are strategically paying attention to the parent. So whatever is very important to the parent, it becomes important to the child. If the parent has a certain type of spirit, that same type of spirit will be in that child, or whatever the situation is. But most people they're not having those particular types of conversations because, strategically, there's families that's out there that got to a point to where they hid so much information from the next generation that certain people die off, and then there's a certain individual that feel like they gotta come and tell you what, just like I was just mentioning earlier, they kind of gotta come and tell you what they think that you want to hear, and then there's a whole process of confusion. Just like, watch this. In this day and era, we have kids that are, well, just like I said, I can only focus on my son. My son is 10 years old. So he only has his understanding at 10 years old outside of the lies that his little friends tell him. Now, what do you mean lies that his little friends tell him? There's, just like you mentioned, you be on Instagram, those kids be on Instagram. You be on YouTube, those kids be on YouTube. So the kids are strategically telling each other certain definitions of certain things that only make sense to them, but when they bring it to the adult, they're like, that's not what that means. So there's kids are strategically all lying to each other. So parents, any parent that's out there, if you hear your child come home from school saying some type of new little saying that they haven't been saying, ask your child what that means. The results of the kind of the definition is going to blow your mind. I remember my son coming to me with, "Daddy, you don't know what bussin' means." I don't know what bussin'. You don't know what bussin' means. Oh, Daddy, I know what bussin'. What it mean? He told me his definition, and it made me click. It made it's like, yo, they're lying to each other, and they feel the bond. You know what I'm saying? Is this something that we used to do when we was in school? Believing in individuals and they was lying to us? But then again, once you fall into manhood, because I can jump in different directions. When it comes towards manhood, there's certain things as the years go by, like for instance, once you're in your 20s, when you get into your 30s, the things that you did in your 20s, if you're still doing it, there's a chance that you're still sleeping throughout life. Then you get to the particular 40s. If your 40s have nothing to show for your 30s, that means you're still with that mindset inside your 20s, which doesn't really, you know what I'm saying, it really holds weight towards um, a situation where how come why you don't know certain things like this and you stop growing. So that's the reason why, you know what I'm saying, your manhood was only accustomed to um, what you thought is what you needed to be doing. Just like, for instance, we're taught to be able to, you know, provide. So strategically, my particular background is I did after college, I did like, no, what was say a couple years after college. I ended up doing like 8 years in the oil field. Now, at that particular point in time, you know what I'm saying? I was looking at other individuals that was there longer and giving them praise. Oh, his man that put in 10 years, this man that put in 20 years with the same company. But strategically, when you get into the maturation process and you look at that and you like, so that's 10 to 20 years that this man will never see his wife. He'll never see his children because that's time he'll never get back. And to all my homeboys that's still out there from time to time, I tell them, man, no, get you a new job, boy, get you something back home. You heard me? The time that you spending in that oil field, you'll never get. Think about it. Your mama's still alive. How much time your mama got left? You know what I'm saying? I will particular if my mom was still alive, that means that's just like my encouragement to you, my brother. You still got your mama. Think about it like this. Your mama have more years behind her than she have ahead of her. So love on her hard while she's still here. Every morning that she wake up, give her kisses. You heard me? I wish I could give mine kisses. Give her kisses because you just never know when that time is up. And it usually is up when we finally decide to commit to a thought that we were supposed to commit to years ago on behalf of that particular dream that we have within our inside, within the belly of our stomachs. You heard me?
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, and I already do all of that. So, that's that. I already check all those boxes. Yeah, I already do that. I do that all the time, every day, and, by me being the only child, I get to have her to myself. So I don't have to share anything. But, it's been her and I for a long time. So it's something that I've been accustomed to, for a long time. It's something that I wish I would have had with my dad more. I can definitely say that if he were present like I wanted him to be, it's something that I definitely wish I would have had more with him. But now I have the opportunity to make do better and to be better. And that's what I've learned. Like I said, ever since he passed away on the 23rd of January this year, it's forced me to look at my life differently because, I never thought that I would be in the predicament where I would be so young and to have to figure out how to do this on my own. Even though I have support, I have a support system. I still have my mom. I still have extended family. It's just it's something that I never. It's a position I never thought I would be in because you know I you know because I definitely saw him just being around at least like 20 or 30 more years, like at least like till I adopt my kids and they're here. Like, you know, like he didn't even get a chance to see me finish college. Like this is all wrong, you know. And that's what started going through my mind first. But then I was like, okay, so he's at peace. This is better than him suffering. So that's how I rationalized. I mean, that's what was going through my mind. And you know, and after, like I said, and that's why this whole conversation, I talk about it all the time, and I've shared it with my family in terms of building my family through adoption, something that they support, because it's something that I didn't get from my dad. So I can be the number one dad. You know, I can build upon what wasn't given to me. You know, give another generation of children something that I was missing, you know, and something that I didn't receive to the fullest extent, something that I felt like I was robbed of for so long. So that's definitely, you know, what's been going through my mind the past several months, even the beginning of this year, because it'll be a year in a minute. Yes, it'll be a year in a minute. But I think that that's why it's important to have mentors now. What is it as a mentor do you think that you can provide to the next generation of, you know, people, young people that are coming behind you, like myself? You know, I'm a 1999 baby, so I was an early 2000s kid. You know, so different era, but you know, all of us have a journey. So what does that look like to you? The importance of mentorship.
Here's the deal. Here's my encouragement to you. Don't blame yourself. Never get to the point to where you start to blame yourself, because you got to think about it. When a baby is born, when you were born in 1999, there was a hospital room and there was a set of individuals inside that room. Now, strategically, when your mom conceived, they brought you out into this world. And what they did was unless you came out crying, but chances are you didn't come out crying. So they went on ahead and gave you a tap, you know what I'm saying, to get you to cry. At that particular point in time is when we're bent away from God, because now we're allowing humans to, you know what I'm saying, give us that particular love that only God can give. You know what I'm saying? A human can only give you the type of love that they got when they was, you know what I'm saying, when they was getting raised or whatever the deal is. So strategically, every individual that's inside that hospital room is a character within your story. Now, you leave a certain set of characters because you're leaving with a certain other set of characters, which your mom and your dad, that's who usually take you away from the hospital room or the hospital period, and bring you into their home. And that becomes your mother and your father, which, you know what I'm saying, coming out or whatever, that's your mom and your dad. But at the same time, those are still only characters within your story. Now, when you were brought forth, God brought you forth and put in a particular type of seed, a particular type of dream, and all this other stuff within you. You know what I'm saying? And once you go through boyhood, once you get to, you know what I'm saying, your teens, once you fall into this manhood, you get to the point, depending on what type of family you come from, you start to get your own understanding of what God can actually do within your life. And once you feel that particular type of love, you notice that that love is way different from what anybody can ever give you here within this world. So strategically, my brother, a mentor. A mentor is an individual that can come into your life and just shake everything up with a small conversation. You know what I'm saying? He's going to give it to you with transparency. He's going to give it to you with an open heart, to the point to where you can actually feel his words like it would have a little bouncing ball, you know what I'm saying, coming down across the screen or whatever. you'll feel the particular nourishment on behalf of that individual, but that individual as a mentor has to have his life in order, because only only that individual is going to be able to feel the particular soul of those words. And just like with business, we are strategically put here in order to help those individuals that's crossing the Jordan. You know what I'm saying? The business owners, in order to find and navigate through this world, we use social media. So when it comes to as a mentor, your mentor may be an individual who has different social media strategies to get you to where it is that you're trying to do, but also get you to understand certain things that you maybe wasn't taught as you were coming up within, you know what I'm saying, the situation that you had. But there's so much value within having a mentor. I believe that everybody should have some type of mentor or coach in every area of their life, because there's certain things that you just won't know. And since you overlook not knowing, then there's so much time that's going to pass. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of business owners now who don't see the benefit in social media because they're tied to individuals that they had the same sort of type of spirit that they had way back in the day. And these individuals are not the individuals that's going to help them to progress in their business. So it's all about, you know, spring cleaning. It's all about going into your garden and moving these little particular thorns out. And a particular mentor can guide you in that particular direction that you need to go in order to obtain whatever it is, whatever venture you got going.
Yes, that's good. You know, and that was very, very powerful. And see, that's why I like talking to you. You are very authentic and powerful with you give great analogies. You know, I mean, it's so straightforward and it's great. So within the last few minutes that we have for the show, my last question, we were able to get to the last question. Where do you see yourself 5 to 10 years from now? You doing what you're doing in terms of being a mentor and making an impact, and just, you know, growing, you know, in and of yourself as well. Like, where do you see yourself doing what you're doing in terms of being that leader and being that mentor, not just for others, but growing in the process? Where do you see yourself 5 to 10 years from now?
Okay, so if you would have caught me 5 or 10 years before now, I would have been telling you, yeah, I want to see myself doing this and see myself doing that. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing that. When all in all, that's not anything that the master said. So whatever the master sees fit for the next 5 years, I'm going to do my part. Wherever he sees fit for the next 10 years, I want to just do my part. I want to treat every day like it's my last day. I want to treat these 24-hour time blocks very intentional. I want to do exactly what it is that he needs me to do on these particular days leading up to 5 years from now. Strategically, there's a lot of individuals that's out there who make particular goals. They have plans for the particular week. I know this particular week is coming. I want to do X, Y, Z. Well, the subconscious mind doesn't operate in those terms. The subconscious mind only operates in the 24 hours that you're actually experiencing. So tomorrow, it will happen on tomorrow. And yesterday is something that you'll never be able to get back. So strategically, whatever you're talking to yourself about on today, or that you've been talking to yourself about all day today, is the only thing that your subconscious mind is really factoring in. It depends on what particular seeds are you planting within yourself. You may be an individual that likes to watch the news before you go to sleep and then can't figure out why the next morning you just don't feel the same. It's because you allowing these bad seeds to get poured into your body, and then you go to sleep and those seeds have to sprout, because one thing about the subconscious mind, it doesn't stop. There's 24 hours. So whatever you put in there, that's just like with food. You know what I'm saying? There's certain people that's still eating any kind of way within this particular season. Well, guess what? That particular food you put in your body. You mentioned you a 1999 classic. I'm a 1983 classic. I'm gonna say I'm a Buick. I said Buick or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. We'll do it. So with that being said, as a 1983, it depends on what I'm putting inside this engine. That's going to make that engine continue to move, continue to, you know what I'm saying? When the alarm clock hit, I pop up out the bed, you know, it just depends. It's so much stuff that a lot of people are overlooking. And that's the reason why life is still having those same words in the same chapter, but the same chapter from way back when they was 21, or strategically. There's individuals that's out there who have built walls so many years ago, and then they end up getting in a relationship, it didn't work, getting another relationship, didn't work, getting another relationship, didn't work, because that wall was built so long ago that nobody ever came into that life to speak any type of life into revisiting that wall. And I stop allowing people to just push certain stuff down. My brother, I can go with all my analogies all day, all kind of different ways. Babe, this is how God has prepared me for these particular type of conversations. It's a lot of different things that a lot of people are overlooking, but strategically, if I tell you what I think I should be doing in 5 to 10, it would be wrong of me to go ahead and say that, because God can change things just like that, and nothing but a snap of a finger. So I just want to make sure that I continue giving him his praise and just allowing me to get to see that 5 to 10. I would love for me and you to be friends to the 5 to 10. You'd be like, remember when you asked me this question back in 2021? I didn't have no answer to it. Now look at what the God that did in all this time. You heard me? Hey, I love it, my brother.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks again. Before I let you go, I just want to thank you again for appearing on my show. This was a very powerful conversation, but it was a much needed discussion. So again, before I let you go, I just wanted to say thank you. I'm going to close everybody out with the thought of the night. So thanks again. I will be speaking to you soon. So this was a very great discussion. It was much needed. It needs to. We need to have this discussion more often, you know. But we will, you know, as the platform grows and as we grow, it'll be great. So,
hey man, I just want to say this before I leave, people. I enjoyed y'all. I hope that some people was able to receive me, but receive me with the understanding that my heart is so pure for giving to people, giving. I'm a giving type of person. You know what I'm saying? From time to time, people will check in on me, man. We know you give so much. You know, it's time to, you know, check up on you, make sure that your mental is good. You know, I'm always looking at, you know what I'm saying, how can I help somebody to get to their particular destination, when all in all, you know, sometimes my fuel runs dry. You know what I'm saying? I still got to continue to read the word, get this word in me, and continue on with this particular process of life. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I appreciate y'all having me. So let me know when I can come again. Let me know when I can come again, and we'll go about it like that. Peace and many
yes,
blessings.
I will. Thanks again. Thank you very much. So that wraps up another edition of the Beauty in Us Radio right here on Awesome God Radio. That was a really great discussion. We're a few minutes over time, but it's okay. It was a much needed discussion, you know, and these discussions, they have to happen more often in order for all of us to get clarity on where we are as a people, whether we're men, women, or even young people, even children. I mean, we all need to have these conversations because we all need to figure out how to heal and move forward in different aspects of our lives. And that's the point that we were trying to get across as it pertains to understanding the male's point of view, a boy's perspective, a young man's perspective, an elderly man's perspective. I mean, there are so many dimensions that we've dived deep into tonight. But I appreciate you all for tuning in to another edition of the Beauty in Us Radio right here on Awesome God Radio. Don't forget to subscribe to Awesome God Radio on all of our social media platforms. So we're on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, you name it. You know, we're on all of the social media platforms. So feel free to reach out to us. If you have something of substance to bring to the table for any of our shows, please feel free to contact us directly through any of these social media platforms. Next week on November 16th, 2021 at from 6:30 to 7 p.m., I'm going to have one of my college professors from UMBC on to talk about the sociology of education. Professor Dan Malahome. So it's going to be a really, really great discussion. I think that this is one of my first professors, I think, that I've crossed paths with in my academic career, who's actually appeared on my broadcast and who has worked with me outside of the classroom about that. So I love you all. I appreciate you all. I continue to pray for you all, and I hope that you continue to pray for me. Feel free to head on over to Amazon.com to purchase all 3 volumes of The Beauty in Us book series. The Beauty in Us, Our Soul's Armor, The Beauty in Us, Our Reality, and The Beauty in Us, Vulnerable Masculinity. So I love you all. I appreciate you all. And I hope you all continue to stay safe and to stay healthy. And I will see you all next week. I hope you all enjoyed the show. So bye-bye. I'll see you next week. So make an appointment to meet me back here at 6 p.m. on November 16th next week.